Hello everyone, it's Tracy here at Temperance Tarot, and it's that time of the month again where I talk about the decks that I have been using this month to determine what stays in my collection and what goes. It was a bit of a mixed bag this month. I had a few decks that I really liked, a few decks that were sort of meh, and a few decks that just didn't work for me. So let's have a quick look. And we will start with the lovely Tabula Mundi deck by M.M. Lean. It's an indie deck. It's a Thoth-based deck. I have been listening to the Fortune's Wheelhouse podcast for, well, since they pretty much started. And I have really enjoyed that podcast, even though a lot of the esoteric stuff goes straight over my head. But I always learned something from that podcast and really appreciated the time that they spent putting together that podcast. So I did break down and I bought the Tabula Mundi deck, and it is a beautiful deck. It is Thoth. It's a Thoth deck. It has a lot of esoteric symbols, and it is so incredibly well thought out. Every single color and piece of an image means something to the creator, and particularly the court cards are just amazingly well thought out because they have different aspects of other cards in the deck in them, and they are just amazing. It's a little too much for me right now. And they're not, the images aren't all that intuitive. I mean, you look at this, you have the 8 of Discs, Prudence, and it's 8 eggs under a lamp. That's, now if you go read the guidebook, which I didn't buy the actual physical guidebook because the deck was a little bit pricey, but there is an app. There's a Fool's Dog app for this deck, and it's like $4. And so I went and got the Fool's Dog app so that I would have access to the book. But I gave it, I'm not going to get rid of this deck, not right yet anyway. And I plan to pull it out and try to use it again, maybe when I'm a little further along in my journey. And I did get the expansion pack. Of course, it's beautiful. And then we have the, I don't know if you can see there's sort of a flashy stuff on the back. And I got the expansion pack that I'd never even opened. It has a different lust card, and it has the Zodiac cards, I believe, that one of these days I'll open. And when, you know, she signed it, and I got an extra Princess of Cups card that has this silver foil around the edge, and I've got that sitting in my reading space in a little special spot because I think she's gorgeous. I think she's just gorgeous. Okay. I, once again, tried to work with the Ostara Terra. Before I absolutely gave it up, I wanted to have another go and see if I had misjudged it, or maybe it was for me now when it hadn't been for me before, and came to the same conclusion that I did the first time, that this is a beautiful deck, but it's not a deck for me. Some of the images make a lot of sense. Some of them don't. Some of them I have a hard time telling how many, you know, that's the 4 of Pentacles. I can see that one. I know that they're all there, that all of the suit elements are there, but sometimes they're a little too subtle for me to be able to figure it out. Oh, and I had these in a specific order because I was going to talk about some specific cards. Some of the cards I think are really gorgeous. I love this Devil card with the 2 people in the little lantern case. This 2 of Cups is so perfect. They're even, if birds have hands, they're holding hands here. And that is so precious. And it gave me such a marvelous feeling of safety and security when I pulled that card, and I loved it. But the Knights, on the other hand, and the court cards, I couldn't always tell what they were. This is a knight and this is a page. This is the Knight of Wands, I believe, because I think the fishing pole is a wand. I would have thought that this was the Knight of Wands because, let's face it, so many people associate foxes with wands that I would have immediately jumped to the conclusion that that's the Page of Wands. But I believe it's the Page of Cups, and I think that's the little cup right there. And that's just a little too difficult for me. I had a bit of trouble with this Ace of Swords because it looks more like an ending to me than a beginning, which, yes, endings, beginnings, they're all wrapped up together, because you can't have an ending without a, well, you can have an ending without a beginning, but you can't have a beginning without an ending. And I didn't, that didn't resonate with me. The Sun card is a beautiful card, but it doesn't give me the feeling that I want to get from the Sun card. And this is the Two of Wands, I believe. And in the book, the meanings for these cards are very traditional Rider-Waite-Smith meanings. And a lot of times I just didn't get it from the image. This is a perfect example. This person seems caged to me, seems somehow bound by that cage that's on her head rather than expanding and planning. Just my take on it. The Judgment is a little too judgy for me, you know, a big angel with a sword. And then the one that got me that I really did not resonate with was this Three of Cups. This person is drowning and they are not happy about it. And there are a couple more of them. They're kind of off, out of center. They're not exactly in frame. But you look at this and you don't get the joy and the camaraderie and the fellowship that I think of when I think of the Three of Cups. I'm getting somebody who's drowning, and you know, even the frogs are standing on her head because she's so deep in the water. So there you go. Ostara is going to go in the sell/trade pile. It's just not a deck for me. I'm not going to spend much time talking about the Everyday Enchantment Tarot because I have put out another video on this deck. I love this deck. I'm quite surprised at how much I love this deck and what a wonderful reader it is for me. It's so modern and so relatable for me. I understand what the images are trying to say. I can find all kinds of nuance in the images. There was I think it was the Ten of Swords. I drew the Ten of Swords. Here, let me find it. One day I pulled the Ten of Swords and I just got so much from this card. She's been fighting for a long time. It's just, she's being attacked by multiple people, even her cat's attacking her. And the thing that got me was the CCTV camera that's in the distance. You know, she's behind a wall that she can't get past. There's barbed wire and all of that. And yet somebody is watching. And I could the day I pulled the card, I read it that these people who are attacking her are being watched. And even though she is going to have to give up, basically, at this point, that doesn't mean that they will escape justice. At the same time, I can also see it the other way. I can see this as society turning a blind eye to what's going on in this scene, and that she's being attacked. I just love this deck. This is definitely a keeper for me. I have no plans to trim it. I think I've gotten over my trimming and edging phase. I'm leaving the borders on there, and I'm not trimming it. I am not edging it. I'm just leaving it the way it came, and I'm keeping this deck. Oh, and one quick note about the book. The book is very good. For each card, she has a description of the image that talks about the image. Then she has a story that's like the character in the card is telling their story, and then she has a meaning. But I actually found particularly the story limiting to my interpretation of the card, because once you hear their story, you can't unhear it, and it kind of it colors how you see that card going forward. I decided that as wonderful as this book is, and I think it would be an absolute fabulous thing for a brand new beginner to help them learn the Rider-Waite-Smith system, I'm actually not using the book because I find that the images are just intuitive enough to give me everything that I need and more than she's written on the page. I do weekly draws for the Biddy, I can't say this, Biddy Tarot Planner, which isn't, it's kind of a journal thing where you pull a card a week and then once every month you do a spread, or once a month you do a spread. And I pick a deck for the month to use for the Biddy Tarot Planner, and this month, April, has been the Wild Unknown, because I'm trying again to use the Wild Unknown, and while it is still not my favorite deck, I have come to appreciate it more since I have used it this month, and for now it's going to stay with me, and I'm not going to show any of those cards. And the last deck that I've used this month is obviously my new Victorian Romantic Tarot, and I'm not going to show any of these either because I have a video out about them as well. But I will say that after using it, I love it even more. It is just, it's the kind of deck that I really, really like. Those are the tarot decks that I've used this month. Now let's have a look at the Oracle decks. I have only 4. Wow, I thought I had more. So I'll start with the Mystical Shaman Oracle. I had absolutely no intention of buying this deck. I thought that $33 for a Hay House deck was ridiculous. But one day, and I swear it was just one day, Amazon put it on sale for $22. And I said, okay, for $22, I'll see what it's all about. So I did get it. And I like the card images. It's not really, I love the artwork, but it just doesn't speak to me. I love the other Shaman Oracle. I can't remember what the name of it is. It just recently came out from Blue Angel. I like the other one a whole lot better. And the book on this one, considering that they had 3 people work on this book, it's pathetic. It just does not, it could be so much more. The book could make this deck. The book could really make this deck worth it and make it understandable, because they're talking about concepts that I am not intimately familiar with in all cases, like soul retrieval. I need the book to tell me what that means. So let's have a look at what it actually says in the book about soul retrieval. This is not one of the cards I drew, but gosh, that's a pretty image. Soul retrieval. The essence. Soul retrieval is a practice that helps you recover a part of yourself, your energy, your enthusiasm, or your innocence that you have lost. At first, we'll use soul retrieval to recover from our hurts and heal our childhood wounds. Later, we learn to journey to recover our original nature, that self that never left the Garden of Eden, who still speaks to the rivers, to the trees, and to God. When we return to Eden, we are whole again. Okay, so what's the point? All right, well, let's go to the invitation section, because there are 3 sections. And I have a feeling that each one of these people wrote a section, but I did not read the introduction, so I'm not sure. The invitation. You are no longer fragmented. You are one with creation. You have healed the cause of the pain you feel, so you do not need to dwell on it any longer. Really, it's true. If you're still hovering over an old wound, find a new flight path. Don't be distracted with little stuff you've already mastered. Go for the big one, the journey back to Eden. The essence and the invitation, to me, do not say the same thing. And I really think that they need to focus on the same thing. Oh, and the image is like a moth or a butterfly coming out of a chrysalis. Transformation, maybe? Then the medicine. When did you compromise what you truly believed in order to be loved or accepted by someone? All right, what's that got to do with going back to Eden and rediscovering your innocence and what you've lost? Think back over your life and find a time or times when this happened. Vow never to compromise your integrity again. What have you agreed to in the name of love that you know is deeply wrong? Make it right this instant. So, in my opinion, the 3 different sections, or the 3 different meanings that are given for this card, don't have anything to do with each other, and really don't have anything to do with the image on the card. So, I don't know. I so love the images. that, you know, if I had lots and lots of time, I might write my own guidebook for this deck, because I do love the images and they're just gorgeous. But as it stands right now, it's going to go on the shelf for now. I also used art through the Starstream Oracle this month. I don't know a whole lot about this deck. I pulled cards from it for like 2 or 3 days and said, nah, this is just not for me. I believe the artist painted the pictures and gave them the titles and then developed an oracle deck around them, which there's nothing wrong with that. But the meanings in the book don't give you really much beyond the little quote at the bottom of the card. So you've got, let's find one that I can actually pronounce. The corn goddess, gratitude, honor the sacred in every creation. And this is what you have in the book. You have when the painting was painted, the expanded meaning, identify with and personify the corn goddess. She represents the balance of nature as the young girl, the life giver, and the wise woman. And then it explains, you know, how she came up with the inspiration. But really, while the explanation is nice, there's just not a whole lot to go on with these cards. There's a lot of stuff that's Arthur, King Arthur. But nah, this deck is just not for me. And I have her other deck. There's another Starstream Oracle deck. I can't remember the name of it right now. But I'm going to put that one in the trade pile too, or the sell pile, because these, while they might work beautifully well for somebody, they are not for me. I worked a little bit with the animal spirit, the wild unknown animal spirit, because let's face it, the artwork is gorgeous. And I like the artwork in the animal spirit better than I like the wild unknown artwork. There's a little more color. It's just beautiful. But I don't know, if you're in the Facebook group for Love of Cards and you've seen my recent post asking about oracle decks, this just doesn't give me anything. It's beautiful. I know a little bit about some of these animals to where I could say, okay, raccoon, you know, be stealthy and sly, move around by night. My experience with raccoons is they'll eat trash out of the trash can. And then we have some of these mythical golden egg things, and you know, I've got the book, yes, but it's just so pretty, so pretty. This one just doesn't work that well for me right now either. But and then the last one that I worked with this month is also going in the trade or sell pile. It's beautiful. I love the artwork. I do not like the book. Really love the artwork. And I love flowers, but I know nothing about the symbolic meaning of flowers. I know a little bit about flowers that grow around me. You know, my mother was always a gardener, so I know a little bit about native southern plants, but I do not know much about these. Again, not going to say it. But when I went to look up stuff in the book, I found it disjointed and unclear and fragmented. So, for example, let's look up frangipani. Frangipani. Freedom. In this book, they did not write in full sentences. So it was more like a bulleted list that was put into a paragraph. So under meaning, we have a boost in confidence and connection with youthful and female energy. Look to inner beauty. Look to the heart of issues and don't take things at face value or dismiss them without searching deeper. Freedom is coming along with a positive answer to a query. Renewal of passion, a particular interest, and possibly creative projects. The key to making something work for you is within reach and inner peace, harmony, and love are all possible. Indications of true feelings, the beginning or birth of something. Once again, we've got a whole bunch of what I would quote bullet points that really don't seem to have a common uniting theme that I can go with. And if you say, oh, well, you can just, I can see that you could say, oh, well, you can just, pick the one that resonates with you that day. And that's fine, other than it's just not what I'm looking for. It's just not what I'm looking for. That's all I can say. But then we have challenges. So we have a reverse meaning. We have a botanical profile, which I love. The botanical profiles, because plumeria, that's what I've always called it. Tells you how big it gets, where it grows, and then it tells you where in the world you can find it, and such as that. But it just doesn't work for me. I like to have, okay, let's put it this way. I like a focused meaning that can have many nuances that sort of tendril out from that meaning. But the core meaning is there, and it's the core meaning. But, I could have nuances, like it could mean, okay, if it means freedom, it could have an air of escape to it. But this had so many things that went beyond that. A renewal of passion, a particular interest, and possibly creative projects. I had another card. I pulled another card that meant almost the exact same thing. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. This one is not going to stay. There were 5 Oracle decks. I knew that there was the week that I pulled out this deck that I said no, and started with a new deck. We have the crystal reading cards, which, I'm a stone hound. I love stones. But I'm doing my level best to learn tarot right now. I know tarot, but that's my focus of my intellectual learning time, is learning more about tarot, learning the nuances of tarot, learning the best way to apply the system of tarot to my life. And this requires learning about crystals, learning more about crystals, because I have a base knowledge of some crystals, but learning more about crystals, it's just not something I have time for right now. So while I love the idea of using a crystal deck, it's just not going to happen right now. But again, I am not going to get rid of this deck, because I figure some point in the future I'm going to be satisfied with my tarot knowledge and going to want to branch out into other things. And crystals would definitely be top of the list. Speaking of, you see that? That is, I wanted a Herkimer, and the easiest and best way to get it is just to have it go in jewelry. I think I paid $15 for this ring, and it said sterling silver. And it's got a lovely Herkimer in it. And that way I have a Herkimer and I have it on me. So there you go. Those are my decks for April.